Hi, this is video one, day one. Happy New Year. I hope it's a wonderful year going forward. I'm going to be starting with day one of the Bible study, January 1st. And it says that, so there's four categories for every day, there's four things that are completed. Okay, so there is Psalms and Wisdom of Literature. Okay, that's the first category. So that's the first thing you do. And for today's first thing, we have Ecclesiastics 3 1 to 8. Um, I'm just writing it down. Then we have what they call the Pentateuch and the history of Israel, which is Genesis 1. Then the Chronicles and Prophets, which essentially is First Chronicles 1. Gospels and epistles, Luke 1 to, Luke 1 1 to 25. So I have to go through all of those every day. I'll be using this Bible specifically. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be using this Bible specifically because of its descriptions and the things that it has in the book. And I think it's a very amazing book. And it will basically supposed to aid me in how I'm doing this Bible study. So I can't even lie to you, to be honest with you. So like, I'm gonna be flipping back and forth between pages, and you can join me in terms of like just sitting around and seeing. I'll be talking out loud so you can get an idea of what's going through my heads. I'll be reading the Bible passages out loud as well. So yeah, stay tuned. So it'll be Ecclesiastics. You spell it Ecclesiastes. 3. And just note, like, I really don't sometimes have the best memory, so I will, like, you will hear me say the same thing more than once, just so I can get an idea of what I'm saying. Or like just to remember it, or stuff like that. So don't take me too seriously sometimes. It sounds really funny when I say it now, but like I just spelled Genesis wrong. Like, how do you spell Genesis? And I'm looking at the page. Um, so yeah, I'm honestly not gonna, in terms of like, while I'm busy with this, I'm not going to make it seem like I know the answers. I don't really know the answers. I'm learning as much as you guys are. Look, okay, maybe I know a bit more considering I've been to church for a large portion of my life and I grew up in a Christian family. But I've also had my struggles in terms of being with Christ. I've had struggles in terms of finding if maybe Christ is real, if God's real. Struggling with faith and genuine faith, because we grow up. A lot of us Christians, we grew up in Christian households, and we presume we are Christian because of it. I really don't think we are. I think it's more of a personal decision that you have to make. Those are my current ideas, I guess. From what I know is that like you have to choose to follow Christ, which is why baptisms exist. Um, it's a dedication of your life. So the baptism that people go through, that I know of, is that you are doing an outward transformation, or showing an outward transformation of the inward transformation, right? Which is where you become born again within Christ, and then you are dedicating your life to following Christ and the way and His word, His way, everything like that, right? So yeah, I got baptized in 2019 June. Yeah, June 2019 June. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, it was actually it was a personal decision. I don't think I told my parents about it. Oh, my parents are Christians, not like I'm hiding from them. It's just that at the time I didn't tell my parents. I went to my mentor at the time, who was at the church, named Mike Hampton. And this is a common ground church in South Africa, Cape Town. It's opposite the Rondebosch Common in Rondebosch. So I went there and I spoke to him about it, and we discussed it, and he explained to me the what it meant, and he asked me if I understood because I was only 12, technically speaking. I was 12 and 13 in that year, and he said it's a no, sorry, I did turn 13. I'm 13 turning 14. My bad. So at that point, it was kind of this thing of like, okay, do you really even know what you're getting yourself into? Because I mean, to give your life to Christ at the age of 13, 14 seems a bit presumptuous. Because it's a very big deal. You're putting a lot at stake, like your whole life direction is at stake when you decide to follow God. Because remember, once you follow the Lord, the things of the world obviously now see you as the enemy, because it's either you are for the world or you for God. You can't have like two masters at the same time. So yeah, okay. So I'm looking for Ecclesiastics 3:1-8. Ecclesiastics. To be honest with you, I am not like, I don't know the Bible at all in terms of the order of the books. And that's something I do hope to pick up on. So Ecclesiastics is page 1193. 1193. Okay, I'm waiting to find it. Also, not all Bibles are this thick. Most Bibles are much thinner. Um, so yeah, don't look at my Bible and think, oh my days, if I get a Bible, it's gonna be that thick. Like, no, it's not. I don't know what my other one is. I have a King James version, and that one is much like thinner compared to this one. And this one just has like a lot of extra things in it, like the descriptions at the bottom, details that most Bibles don't have in terms of, because it's a study Bible. All right. So let me go to Ecclesiastics 3:1-8. Also, I love talking, so bear with me. Okay. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, and a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. That is Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. So, yeah. So, I'm going to go with my general understanding. I think it just looks like it's telling us about the fact that there's a time for everything. So at the bottom here of the ESV Bible, if you ever buy one, it tells you that Ecclesiastes 3:1 poem is a poem, a time for everything. There's an appropriate occasion for every human event or activity. Life is endlessly complex. Several of the items mentioned in this poem have already been examined by the preacher. For example, a time to die or a time to plant. They have multiple or similarities between the two. A time to lose, to give up looking for a lost item, for example, or a time to hate. While loves for one's neighbor is a norm for biblical standards or biblical ethics, if you look at Leviticus, it says Leviticus 19:18, Galatians 5:14, and James 2:8. There's also a righteous anger that is legitimate under the appropriate circumstances. See passages 15, 4, 26, 5, 31. Oh, not passages, my bad. It's Psalms. I saw the PS, I thought passages. bad. C, Psalms 15:4, 26:5, 31:6, 139:21 to 22. Okay, so if I'm starting off thinking about Ecclesiastes 3:1 to 8, I'm thinking that there is a time for everything. Right? And because there's a time for everything, it's bound to be what's the word? Because there's a time for everything, everything's bound to happen because of the human life that we have. Things are complex, right? Things are complex. And then I think it's also this idea that because things are complex, there's a lot of things that you have to allow to happen. As they mentioned here, like time to lose, to give up looking for a lost item. That's the thing, right? It's not saying give up whatever, but you have to look for the appropriate times for those things. And I think me specifically, I lack the wisdom or discernment in terms of understanding what the time is for everything. I think sometimes my timing is off, but on the other hand, it's supposed to say that the Lord's timing is always on time. It's always perfect, right? So there is a time for everything. Things are complex. Human lives are complex. I would give you the notes of this, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to read them because I write in cursive. Like, see there. So I'm not quite sure if you guys are gonna be able to read that. So yeah. Okay. So now the next one is Genesis 1:1, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. Genesis 1. Oh, not 1:1, just Genesis 1. So we're gonna have to read the whole of Genesis 1. To be honest with you, I don't. Genesis is very, Genesis. In terms of that, like, it's long. Like, there's a lot of, like, genealogy and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of, like, what's the word I would use? I think there's not so much that people take note of in Genesis, but it's a very powerful look, in terms of like how you approach it, what you do with it, etc. Okay, so Genesis 1. You can skip this part if you want. I don't know how long this is, but I'm gonna be reading Genesis 1. Genesis 1. In the beginning, the oopsie. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." 7. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. I hope we're reading this right. And it was so. 8. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. 9. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And so it was. 10. God called the dry land earth, and the waters there were gathered together. He called seas, and God saw that it was good. 11. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants, yielding seed, and fruit trees, bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. 12. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants, yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning. The third day, there was morning, which is the third day. 14. And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens, separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. 15. And let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light upon the earth, and it was so. 16. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. 18. To rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw it was good. 19. And there was an evening, and there was a morning, the fourth day. 20. And God said, let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. 21. So God created the great sea, creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the sea. Let birds multiply on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. 25. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that keeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. 27. So God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, of the birds in the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth. 29. And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, to everything that creeps on the earth, and everything that has a breath of life. I have given every green plant for food. It was so. And God saw everything that he had made. 31. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Okay, so, wow, that's a lot to go through. Now, let's see if we go back. All right. I'm gonna see. There's a history here that goes from 1:1 to 11:26 of Genesis. I'm not gonna tap into that right now. Okay, but it's just good to take a look at if you have the book itself. I'm gonna go the verse by verse breakdown that I have here. So Genesis 1 has verses 1 to 31. So the second one verse is within Genesis 1, and we are going to go through how the same. So they say that in the beginning, the opening verse can be taken as a summary introducing the whole passage, or it can be read as the first event, the origin of the heavens and the earth, sometime before the first day, including the creation of matter, space, and time. The second view, the origin of heavens and the earth, is confirmed in Inti's information that creation was from nothing. God created, although the Hebrew word for God, Elohim, is plural in form, possibly to express majesty, the verb create is singular, indicating that God is thought of as one being. Genesis is consistently monotheistic in its outlook, in marked contrast to the other ancient Near Eastern accounts of creation. There's only one God, and the Hebrew verb bara, I hope I'm saying it, create, is always used in the Old Testament with God as the subject. While it is not always used to describe the creation out of nothing, it does stress God's sovereignty and power, heavens and the earth. Here means everything. This means that in the beginning refers to the beginning of everything. The text indicates that God created everything in the universe, which thus affirms that he did in fact create it ex nihilo, Latin out of nothing, the effect of opening words of the Bible to establish that God, in this inscrutable wisdom, sovereign power, and majesty, is the creator of all things to exist. Okay, I'm like looking through this, and this seems like a lot to read through as well. Out loud, I mean. I'm really deciding how I'm gonna go about this, because I want to read it, but I also don't know like how willing you are to like listen to all of this. Look, I'm gonna do this anyways. I'm gonna read it out loud, and I'm gonna write it down. Oh, not everything, but I'm gonna write my thoughts down. I'm just looking at the other ones, right? There's still like one Chronicles 1, and then one, and then Luke 1 to 25. All right. Okay. So it says that the initial description of the earth is being without form and void, a phrase repeated in the Old Testament only in Jeremiah 4:23. Implies that it is lacked order and content. The reference to darkness over the face of the deep points to the absence of light. The initial state will be transformed by God's creative activity. The Spirit of God hovering. This comment creates a sense of expectation, something that is about to happen. To postulate that a long time has elapsed between Genesis 1 and 1:2, during which the time the earth became desolate and empty. Critical scholars argued the word deep, Hebrews tehom, is a remnant of Mesopotamian mythology from the creation account called Enuma Elish. Marduk is fashioning the universe, had also the vanquished Tiamat, a goddess of chaos. These scholars believe that the Hebrew god had to conquer the chaos deity Tiamat in the form of the deep. Notice the similarity, the two words Tohum and Tiamat. There are many linguistic reasons, however, for doubting a direct identification between the two. In any event, there is no conflict in Genesis or the rest of the Bible between God and the deep, since the deep readily does God's bidding. Okay. And God said in chapter 1, the absolute power of God is conveyed by the fact that it's merely... Okay, sorry. Where was I again? Yes, Genesis 1:3-5, and God, this is description. Okay, in chapter 1, the absolute power of God is conveyed by the fact that he merely speaks and things are created. Each new section of the chapter is introduced by God speaking. This is the first of the 10 words of of creation in chapter 1, let there be light. Light is the first of God's creative works, which God speaks into existence. Light was good. Anything that God brings into being is good. This becomes an important refrain throughout the chapter. See verses 10, 12, 18, 21, 25, and 31. God called the light day. See verse 5. And then the focus in verse 5 is on how God has ordered the time on a weekly cycle. Thus, let there be light may indicate the dawning of a new day. Apologies. God is pictured working for 6 days and resting on the Sabbath, which is a model for human activity. Therefore, develops the idea further the lights are placed in the heavens for signs and seasons, for the purpose of marking days and years, and the seasons of the great festivals such as Passover. The sense of time being structured is further emphasized throughout the chapter as each stage of God's ordering and filling is separated by evening and morning into specific days. There was evening and there was morning, the first day. The order evening and then morning helps the readers to follow the flow of the passage of the workday. There is an evening and then a morning, implying that there is a nighttime, the worker's daily rest in between. Thus, the reader is prepared for the next workday to dawn. Similar phrases divide chapter 1 into 6 distinct workdays, while chapter 2, 1 and verses 1 to 3 make a 7th day. God's Sabbath on the first 3 days creates the environment that the creatures of the days 4 to 6 will inhabit. Thus, the sea and the sky, day 2, are occupied by fish and birds, created on day 5. See chart below. By simple reading of Genesis, these days must be described as days in the life of God. But how his days relate to human days is more difficult to determine. See further introduction. Genesis and science. Light and dark. Just going through the different location and inhabitants. Okay. Damn, this is a lot to read out loud. Anyways, water plays a crucial role in ancient Near Eastern creation literature. In Egypt, for example, the creator god Ptah, I don't know, that's Ptah, uses the pre-existent waters personified as god Nun to create the universe. The same is true in Mesopotamian belief. It is out of the gods of watery chaos, Apsu and Tiamat and Mamu, that creation comes. The biblical creation account sits in stark contrast to such dark mythological polytheism. In the biblical account, water at creation is no deity. It is simply something God created. It serves as a material in the hands of the soul-sovereign creator. As light was separated from darkness, so waters are separated to form an expanse, which God calls heaven. As the ESV footnote illustrates by offering, give me 1 second, tea. As the ESV footnote illustrates by offering the alternative term sky, it is difficult to find a single English word that accurately conveys the precise sense of the Hebrew term shamayim, heavens. In this context, it refers to what humans see above them. An example, the region that contains both celestial lights and birds. So we're going now to understanding verses 9 to 13 of chapter 1. To further regions and organized by God, the dry land forming, earth and waters forming, seas bring forth vegetation. While the creation of vegetation may seem out of place on day 3, it anticipates what God will later say in verses 29 to 30 concerning food for both humanity and other creatures. The creation of distinct locations in days 1 to 3 along with vegetation prepares for the filling of these in days 4 to 6. This section corresponds closely with the ordering of day and night on the first day, involving the separation of light and darkness. Here, the emphasis is on the creation of lights that will govern time as well as providing the light upon the earth, by referring to them as the greater light and the lesser light. The text avoids using terms that were also proper names for pagan deities linked. Oh, okay. So the text avoids using terms that were also proper names for pagan deities linked to the sun and the moon. Chapter 1 deliberately undermines pagan ideas regarding natures being controlled by different deities. The ancient pagans of the Near East, the gods were Ra and Thoth are personified as the sun and moon, respectively. The term made Hebrew Asa, verse 16, as the ESV footnote shows, only mean that God fashioned or worked on them. Both are in brackets. Not brackets, in quotations. Fashion is in quotations and worked on is in quotations. It does not of itself imply that they did not exist in any form before this. Rather, the focus here is on the way in which God has ordained the sun and moon to order and define the passing of time according to his purposes. Thus, the reference to seasons or the appointed times and to the days and years, probably an allusion to the appointed times and patterns in Hebrew calendar for worship, festivals and religious observance. The immense universe that God created is mentioned here only in a brief phrase, almost as if it were an afterthought. Focus on Genesis is on the earth. The focus of the rest of the Bible is on man, male and female. At the pinnacle of God's creation and the object of his great salvation. Having precisely described the creation of the waters and the expanse of the heavens, this section focuses on how they are filled with appropriate creatures of different kinds. As reproductive organisms, they are blessed by God so they may be fruitful and fill their respective regions. The term for great sea creatures, tanan, in various contexts can denote large serpents, dragons, or crocodiles, as well as whales or sharks, the probable sense here. Some have suggested that this could also refer to other extinct creatures such as dinosaurs. Canaanite literature portrays a great dragon as the enemy of main fertility god Baal. Genesis depicts God as creating a large sea creatures, but they are not in rebellion against him. He is sovereign and is not in any kind of battle to create the universe. This is by far the longest section, 24 to 31, given over to a particular day, indicating that day 6 is the peak of interest of this passage. The final region to be filled is the dry land, or earth, as has been designated in verse 10. Here, a significant distinction is drawn between all the living creatures that are created. To live on the dry land, and human beings, whereas verses 24 to 25 deal with the living creatures that the earth is to bring forth. Verses 26 to 30 concentrate on the special status assigned to humans, livestock, and creeping things and beasts of the earth. Though these terms group the land-dwelling elements into three broad categories, properly reflecting the way nomadic shepherds would experience them. Domestic stock animals, example, sheep, cattle, perhaps camels and horses. Okay, so that's the domesticable stock. The small crawlers are rats, mice, lizards, spiders, and the large game and predator animals, gazelles, lions. This list is not intended to be exhaustive and it's hard to know where to put some animals. For example, the domestic cat. See further introduction in Genesis and Science, which is something else, but I will get to that another time. Okay. We are now 26. Let us make man in our image. The text does not specify the identity of us mentioned here. Some have suggested that God may have addressing the members of his court, whom the Old Testament else calls sons of God, and the New Testament calls angels. But significant objection is that man is not made in the image of angels, nor is there any indication that angels participate in the creation of human beings. Many Christians have, and some Jews have taken us to be God speaking to himself, since God alone does the making in Genesis 1:27. This would be the first hint of the Trinity in the Bible. There has been a debate about the expression of image of God. Many scholars point out the idea commonly used in ancient Near East of the king who was visibly representative of the deity. Thus, the king ruled on the behalf of God. Since verse 6 links the image of God with the exercise of dominion over all other creatures of the seas, heavens, and the earth, one can see that humanity is endowed here with authority to rule the earth as God's representatives, or vice regents. Other scholars, seeing the pattern of male and female, have concluded that humanity expresses God's image in a relationship, particularly in a well-functioning human community, both in marriage and in a wider society. Traditionally, the image has been seen as the capacities that set man apart from the other animals in ways in which humans resemble God, such as in characteristics of reason, morality, language, and a capacity for relationships governed by love and commitment, and creating in all forms of art. All these insights can be put together by observing the resemblance. Man is like God in a series of ways. Allow mankind to represent God in ruling and to establish the worthy relationship with God, with one another, and with the rest of the creation. The image and the dignity apply to both male and female human beings. This view, unique in the context of the ancient Near East. In Mesopotamia, example, the gods created humans merely to carry out work for them. The Hebrew term Adam, translated as man, is often a generic term that denotes both male and female. While sometimes it refers to a man in distinction from women, see, it becomes the proper name Adam at this Adam in verse like Genesis 2:20, 3:17, 21, 4:1, 5:1. At this stage, humanity as a species is set apart from all other creations and crowned with glory and honor as the ruler of the earth. The events recorded in Genesis 3, however, will have an important bearing on the creation of status of humanity. 128. As God had blessed the sea and sky creatures, so too he blesses humanity. Be fruitful, multiply. This motif reoccurs throughout Genesis in association with the divine blessing and serve as a basis of the biblical view that raising faithful children is a part of God's creation plan for mankind. God's creation plan is that the whole earth should be populated by those who know him and who serve him wisely as his vice regents or representative. Subdue it and have dominion. The term subdue, Hebrew kabash, also means to bring a people or land into subjection so that it will yield service to the one subduing it. Numbers 32, 20, 22, and 29. Here's the idea that man and woman are to make the earth's resources beneficial for themselves, which implies that they would investigate and develop the earth's resources to make them useful for human beings. Generally, this command provides a foundation for the wise scientific and technological development. The evil use to which people have put their dominion come as a result of Genesis 3. Over every living thing, as God's representatives, human beings are to rule over every living thing on the earth. These commands are not, however, a mandate to exploit the earth and its creatures to satisfy human greed for the fact that Adam and Eve were in the image of God. implies that God's expectations that human beings will use the earth wisely and govern it with the same sense of responsibility and care that God has toward the whole of His creation. Okay, almost done. Oh, it's almost 40 minutes. Having previously affirmed on 6 occasions that the particular aspects of creation are good, God now states after the creation of man and the woman that everything has been made is very good. The additional behold invites the reader to imagine seeing creations from God's point of view, vantage view. Sorry. The additional behold invites the reader to imagine seeing creation from God's vantage point. While many things do not appear to be good about the present day world, this was not so at the beginning. Genesis goes on to explain why things have changed, indicating that no blame should be attributed to God. Everything God had created was very good. It answers God's purpose and expresses His own overflowing goodness. Despite the invasion of sin in chapter 3, the material creation retains its goodness. Wow, that is a big read. I'm yawning. Sorry, I'm yawning because it's like I've been awake since like what, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and it's now almost 12 o'clock. Okay, now we have to go to. Okay, let me just. Okay, to be honest with you, I don't know how to take this. I just feel like this is information in terms of establishing what happened in the beginning. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let me write something down for this. So let's go with establishing what happened in the beginning. Also, I seem to have noticed that they involved like what's it called? Like I think it's called New Eastern. I think that's what they keep calling it. I don't know which was up. They mentioned the Mesopotamians, Near Eastern creation. There we go. So yeah, so Near Eastern. So I think they mentioned the Near Eastern creation, and I think that's really interesting in terms of the ancient Near Eastern sorry, the ancient Near Eastern creation. Okay, so to me it just looks like they come to mention a lot of how other religions, specifically the polytheism, which is religions. Polytheism basically means religions that have multiple gods, while monotheism, in this case, means, well, in this case, it actually just means monotheism means that you only have one god, and that's it. This is what Abrahamic faiths are considered a monotheistic religion, and most other religions are the religions that form from Abraham are considered mostly monotheistic, and the rest are considered that don't span from Abraham usually are polytheism. So yeah, which means just multiple religions, and those are the pagan. Those are considered pagan deities or pagan gods or pagan practices. So polytheism, pagan, creation of earth different to, I think it's very different. Wait, let me go to my laptop quickly. I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna go to Let me sign in quickly. So, well, let's just sign in. And I honestly, I don't do right now. Anyways, so it seems that when they're explaining here, so we have the first passage, right, where it says all the different things about God, right, and what He's done in the first 6 days of creation, including us as humans, right? And so I'm just trying to log in here quickly. Hope it logs in. And so it looks like the creation of the Lord is totally different from what we expect. Let me see how this is going. Um, Let me go. I'm trying to see if I can start. If I can read the Bible plans from my laptop. Because I don't know if I can read it from my laptop. Oh, so it's on the way on the Bible app. I see. Yeah. So I don't know if I have. They just make you read the scripture. I don't know if I have like your discussion things here. Okay. Anyways, so sorry I got a bit sidetracked. So it looks like let's talk about like the difference in how other religions, specifically the pagan polytheic religions, depict creation or the beginning of the world. So it's creation of Earth different to the pagan depiction. And I think they really emphasize that the Lord God was the one that created it. In terms of like God created everything. Okay. And I think this is important because, sorry, I'm a bit sick. So, God created everything. I think this is relatively important, mostly because it mentions that because God created everything, He's not in contest with everything. There was no battle that needed to occur, considering like the pagan gods, where they had to fight. I think it's something about chaos, right? And because of that, there was no real fight that had to occur. And so I think that's very important to point out because that just proves that in terms of other religions, God hadn't had to fight for His creation. He created all things within creation, everything doing His bidding. So God did not fight with His creations for control. He made everything and all things do His bidding. And I know some people are like, oh, that sucks. Like, so we're all just like slaves. I mean, look, we are not. We have free will. We have the choice to follow the Lord, and that's why you're not a slave or a mindless zombie. You have free will. You're thinking, and although we are made to be with Him and be in His image and take care of the world, we seem to have strayed quite far. In terms of the world as a whole and everybody within the world, but like as we say, we are still learning a lot. So yeah, so everything that's building and God created. So there was also a separation between work days. So far we had 6 days mentioned, and these 6 days were, as they mentioned, evening and day, separating rest. Evening days separating rest and work. Um, And you can also see, like, if remember when we read Ecclesiastes says that there's a time for everything, right? And there's like the verses were like time to work, time to rest. So there is a time for everything. And I think this is shown a lot in Genesis, where the Lord didn't just do everything in one day. He took his time to create everything individually. Day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, and then day six. And I think that that's really important because I think me personally, I kind of struggle with that, the idea of resting, and the idea that there is a time for everything. And I think that alongside there being a time for everything, um, the Lord has His timing, and ultimately all creation follows His timing and His idea. So creation follows His timing and His will. And I think we were also supposed to, in terms of follow the way He does things, because the Lord did say we are made in His image. So I think because we're made in His image, because we're made in His image, because we're made in His image, I think we were, at least I think we were really made to, I think we were made to follow the ways of the Lord, but ultimately still submit to Him. To Him, but still submit to Him because we are His creation, even though we are the most beloved creation, even though we are the most beloved creation. Yeah. So yeah, that is Genesis. Ooh, this is gonna be. Okay, so now we're going to 1 Chronicles. 1 Chronicles 1. For context, I really don't know where any of this stuff is, to be honest with you, so I'm like having to look through the Bible too, like with you guys. Um, says, oh, I just found something interesting. Permission not discuss by sending this account and offer easy text people in print to audio forms out to nucleus of 500 versus our formal license expresses verification customer the versus quoted to not amount to one half of it. One half of any one book of the Bible with equal and measured. Nor do the courts quoted account for 25% or more of the total text of the words. In commentary of the book, the difference between provisional license requests that exceed the above counted information of formal license to obtain that information or formal license as required. Please complete the submit. Damn. Anyways, I have to go do that later. Sorry, ignore that. So I'm still looking for what's this called? It's Chronicles, right? First Chronicles is okay. Damn, who knew that you could be like you have to get permission to read the Bible, like in terms of like in audio format. Why do they even do that? Like, it doesn't make sense. Damn. Imagine getting sued by somebody because you decided to read the Bible online. That would be mad. I'm so lucky I came across that because that would have been one hell of a like scary thing. But oh well. Okay. That's the beginning of the Chronicles. I'm not gonna read all of that. I don't know. These pages are so thin. Okay, there's a lot of okay, so First Chronicles 1. Let's see. First Chronicles 1 has 53 verses from Adam to Abraham. So this is a genealogy, exactly. Oh wow, this is okay. From Adam to Abraham, First Chronicles 1. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Malaleel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, sons of Japheth, Gomer. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of the names because I can't read all of them. Gomor, Mago, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshe, Tiras, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenza, Riphath, Togarma, the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tashish, Kittim, Rodanim, the sons of Ham, Cash, Egypt, Canaan, the sons of Cash, Seba, Havel, Sabata, Ramah, Sabateka, the sons of Ramah, Sheba, Dedan. Cash fathered Nimrod. He was the first on the earth to be a mighty man. Egypt fathered Ludim, Anamim, Lahabim, Naphtahim, Patharuzim, Casluhim, from whom the Philistines came, and Caphatorim. I said I wasn't going to, but I'm trying to. Okay, I'm trying my really best. Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, and the Gerishites, the Hivites, the Archetytes, the Sinites, the Aravites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. The sons of Shem, Elham, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram. The sons of Aram, Uzhal, Gather, Meshem, Arpachshad fathered Shalem. Shalem fathered Eber. To Eber was born two sons, the name of which was Plague, for in his days the earth was divided. And his brother's name was Jachan. Jachan fathered Amadar, Sulfur, Hazar, Math, Jerai, Hadoram, Uzel, Dikala, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Afra, Havilah, Jobab, and all these were the sons of Jochan. Okay, so many names of the genealogy spelled differently to other biblical books, just due to like translation, I guess. So the genealogy is just like supposed to be a presentation of the tribes of Israel, I guess, in the original story. Let's go over these. So then it goes like all the way down, continues 24, 28, 35 until about 37. And then it says the sons of the Seir. It goes again down from 38 to 42. And then 43 says, these are the kings who reigned the land of Edom, for any king reigned over the people of Israel. Bilal the son of Bor, the name of the city, beginning Bilal died. Then Jehob the son of Zerah. Okay, they're going again. Going but of Rain, his place in the name of the city Pi, and his wife's name was Methaba. Okay, I can't even say these names. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. This is just a whole genealogy, and I would really like to get into this, but not right now. No, not right now. I'll get into that in another video when I have a bit more thought into it. But for now, no. Because you see, from what I know, okay, is that a lot of the all these names that are mentioned within the Bible, all right, they all have meanings, and they all lead up, or they all mean something that really, that at least in that time, the definition of it meant something, and it usually the names reflect the character of the people. In most cases, it's meant to reflect. That's why you have your name. So I'm just gonna put your genealogy. I don't know how to go about that. I don't know how to study genealogy, so I'm still gonna I still have to figure that out. Study. Okay, and then we have Luke. Let's see, we got Luke now. Oh, there's two of these guys. I thought there's only one. Anyway. Okay. Luke 1935. So what does it say? Luke 1:1-5. Whoa. Oh, sorry. don't know, it's just a fly. I don't know why this fly's open. I keep coming into the house. I'm gonna leave the door open without there being a fly. Electricity is not an option these days. Okay, let's go. Beginning. Oh my days. Okay, so wow, this is amazing. Like, if you buy the ESV Bible, the physical Bible, right, you can see like, let me see this. Yeah, it's not the year, right? But if you go to the physical Bible, you can see like all of this like drawings of like the like Herod's temple in the time of Jesus. Like they had these like mad like drawings. Oh my days. Okay. Well, let me just do this first. So it's Luke 1 to 25. Right. So dedicates. So this is the gospel according to Luke. As many have undertaken to compile a narrative of the things that have been accomplished among us. So I'm reading Luke 1 to 25. Okay. Oopsie daisy. Anyways. 1 to 25. Okay. Let's see how this goes. So it says, insomuch as many has undertaken and compiled a narrative of the things that have been accomplished among us, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word have delivered them to us, it has seemed good to me also, having followed all these things closely, for some time past, to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, that you may have certainty concerning the things that have been taught. So birth of John the Baptist foretold. In the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah of the divisions of Abijah, and he had a wife from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth, and they were both righteous before God. Okay, yes, walking blamelessly in all the commandments and the statutes of the Lord. But they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and both were advanced in years. Now, while was serving as a priest before God, when his division was on duty, according to the customs of the priesthood, he was chosen by lot to enter the temple. Of the Lord. I'm getting confused. I'm getting distracted. Temple of the Lord, and burn incense. The whole multitude of the people were praying outside at the house of incense. And there appeared to him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And Zechariah was troubled when he saw him, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer has been heard, and your wife Elizabeth will bear your son. And you shall call his name John, and you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. For he will be great before the Lord, and he must not drink wine or strong drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit. Even from his mother's womb, he will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go before him in the spirit and in the power of Elijah, to return to the hearts of the fathers to the children. Starting with close to the center. Zechariah said to turn the hearts of the father to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready for the Lord a people prepared. And Zacharias said to the angel, How shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife is advanced in years. And the angel answered him, I am Gabriel, and I stand in the presence of God, and I was sent to speak to you and bring you this good news. And behold, you will be silent and unable to speak until the day that these things take place, because you do not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time. And people were waiting for Zechariah, and they were wondering at his delay in the temple. And when he came out, he was unable to speak to them, and they realized that he had seen a vision in the temple. And he kept making signs to them, and they remained mute. And when his time of service was ended, he went to his home. And after these days, his wife Elizabeth conceived, and for 5 months she kept herself hidden, saying, Thus the Lord has done for me in the days when he looked on me, to take away my reproach among people. Okay. So that was the foretelling of what's his name? John the Baptist. Which is interesting because John the Baptist was a very important man. Yeah, I think I go like these is parts underneath that I can read, but they take a lot of time to try and go through. I think I will leave that for maybe like another video when I take my time to read those bottom parts and then explore. Also, I think I'll take a look at like there's some stuff at the back here that could help with this, but at the moment, for the beginning, I'll leave it at here. So guys, love you lots. God bless. And if you have questions or things that aren't clear, you don't understand, or that I need to make clear that you want in these videos, please let me know, because I don't know. I'm just starting out, so let me know.